Whew. All right, here we go again. Oops. We're back home for a couple hours, apparently. Sarah's turned into a savage angler. I don't know what's gotten into her. She loves casting off of the pier for salmon, although she's probably caught hundreds of them before on the boat. But she set the alarm. She got us up at 5 o'clock this morning again, and we went at it again. We hit 5 fish this morning. I'll show you a clip of her. I didn't have the audio turned on this particular video camera, but you can see her freaking out, excited for catching fish. And then she even went home and went and got the dog later on. Got a change of clothes. It was kind of cold out and came back out and we fished even more. And now apparently we're home for a couple hours before going back out again. I explained to her yesterday, I'm like, I'm toast. I go, normally we do an 8-hour guide day. And I go, you made us fish for 12 hours yesterday. She just starts laughing. Anyway, been doing some thinking about that email yesterday that everybody seemed to have interest in. The person referring to herself as Claire and her mother referred to herself as Wendy. Excuse me. And thought that she just might be the offspring of one of these other people. I don't know, man. Like I was saying about today, there's a lot that doesn't make sense to me. Just being straight up honest. When you have such a freaking effort to keep these people unacknowledged at all costs, even right down to making a picture of them using AI. It's huge. I mean, let's face it, millions of us know the truth. Millions of us do. And knowing that, and let's just say you were half, why would you do anything to potentially ruin that secrecy? Why? I don't understand. That's a big question I've got right now is why? What's going on here? Why are you coming forward to anybody on the internet at all? Period. Why? I don't understand that. But hopefully get some answers delivered, right? I mean, I never hold my breath with anybody. It's like, okay, you come here and share your experiences, share something. We listen, we take from what we need, or leave the rest, right? So we'll see what comes. But take note, in the past, and I'm not trying to say whether or not this Claire, the person using Claire as a name, and her mother referred to as Wendy, I'm not saying these people are fictitious or not. I haven't a clue. I don't know. Guess I'll find out. They came to us. I didn't come to them. We'll see what happens. But as I'm looking back, there has been some elaborate writers have come in the past. And one that came to mind was somebody put a big effort in a few years ago. They wrote a story about saying they were a retired RCMP officer, now living in Florida, and they wrote this great big long story about way up on the Coquihalla of some people that were abducted, and somebody saw a troop of Sasquatch had them all captive going across a meadow, and then they had to go back and get their 50 cals and a bunch of other high-powered weapons, then sneak back in on them, and then found them again just in time as the Sasquatch people were starting to abuse one of or two of the human captors and shot them dead. And it's a very well written story. And if you Googled up the name of the retired RCMP officer, you came up with the name of an RCMP officer in Chilliwack, which wouldn't be hard to do, obviously, right? But for me, personally, I will say out loud, absolute crock of shit. Somebody had a lot of time on their hands and loved to mess with possibly a YouTube channel or do whatever they do to get their kicks. And they came up with that fictitious story. How confident am I? I would bet my life on it. That's how confident I am. But furthermore, one thing that gave me the heads up, though, was that the original author, has shared that story on one channel for sure, maybe 2 other channels previously, and in both of them said, I've chosen you to be the first person to share my story with. I think it was 2 or 3 months after they shared that story with these other channels, then I got the email. Steve, you're the first person I've shared this story with. And then right away I'm like, oh, you screwed up there, dummy. But anyway, I'm just saying that's one example in the past of Some individuals out there are quite capable of coming up with a real good elaborate story and delivering real smooth, like they're a professional writer, and they go for it. What they get out of that? I don't know. I haven't a clue. Does it harm me in any way? Nope, not at all. Actually, I've always said in the past, we need people in our lifetime. We need people to come to us with BS so we can properly train our sixth sense, our intuition, right? Otherwise, you got nothing for your guts to gauge against or gauge against. I'm really tired right now. My lips don't mesh up with my mind sometimes smoothly, but you know what I mean? And furthermore, let's just say somebody emailed me. Somebody's trying to email you and screw with the whole channel. I go, well, you can't, because if you're a bullshitter and you come here as a bullshitter and you bullshit everybody, well, then you're done. That's it for you. That's it for you in this whole journey here. And this one particular place, you are now a bullshitter. And there's no escaping that. Do you know what I mean? So it's almost like it's a self-cleansing thing, is to have somebody as a bullshitter come here and throw a big loop in everybody and bullshit them. And then, well, now what? Their credibility is alive, cannibalized by themselves, and ours isn't. And we continue to push forward. So I'm just saying, you guys, for anybody who might raise the alarm, somebody's messing with the channel, it's all bullshit. Who gives a shit? It's on them. It's on them. Doesn't affect this channel, doesn't affect me in any way. It can't. It's not possible. You know what I mean? So we go with our gut instincts and our intuition. And we look for patterns. But anyways, I haven't got one, just yesterday's email from Claire. There wasn't one item in that email that raised my awareness to any kind of a fitting in any pattern that we've had created here from tens of thousands of people. There hasn't been anything in a way of a pattern came to me yesterday. So far. Just saying. We'll see what comes, right? I haven't checked my inbox today, obviously. But anyway, so moving along. I just thought I'd drop that. Just getting everybody the heads up that, yes, there have been elaborate stories that have been brought forth here in the past. That's all I'm saying. And I'm also saying that, it's harmless. It doesn't, it might eat up 15 minutes of time. Reading an email, a big one. Who gives a shit? Whatever. I don't care. You know what I mean? But we'll see what comes. You know what I mean? Obviously, if somebody is possibly a hybrid human being cross, it's going to be very, very easy to bring receipts to back that up. Very easy. And if those receipts don't come, well, there you go, right? There you go. Now, fresh off the press, this is titled Tenakee, 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 1993-1994. Hi, Steve. I have an experience to tell. I'm 45 now and share my name, Daryl Harmon. When I was 12 to 13, I had a couple of experiences. At 12 to 15, I lived in Tenakee. I'm going to call it Tenakee Springs, Alaska. Population 100 plus. Being a small town, I had few friends to choose from and few things to do. One day, my 18-year-old friend, B, and I went to fire off his new pistol he had ordered through the mail. It was one of those novelty pistols. Break chamber, 20 caliber, double barrel. The kind of gun I'd imagine a woman would carry for protection, haha. I followed my friend just off the path into the woods, very close to town, just about 5 minutes into the woods. Woods being so thick that you could see only 20 feet in front of us. And right away, as we were tromping, we both heard a grunt off to our left. We both stopped and looked in that direction silently. There are only brown bears where we were, so we were silly to only have a pea shooter novelty gun for protection. But what happened next was something I've never seen or heard of again until listening to your channel triggered this memory again. After the grunt, whatever it was, ran off with such fury and tremendous noise that I swear it broke trees and snapped spruce and hemlock limbs as it ran through the woods away from us. It truly sounded like a dump truck plowing aimlessly through the thick woods, minus the engine noise, of course. After the crashing, about 5 to 10 seconds long, We stood silent, mouths agape, and looking back and forth between us to where the thing ran off to. Silence. We did decide it was a bear that grunted and ran off that day. However, upon listening to your channel and recalling this memory, it is so clear that it was a juvenile saw-bay we encountered and surprised that day. After about a minute passed, I summoned the courage to step closer to the area it fled and investigate whether there was trees snapped and limbs dangling. Surprising to me, there wasn't any sign of the tremendous sounding escape. Weird, right? That's weird. But it fits with patterns. I had encountered bears previously in this area, and they tend to be a lot more graceful than what that was that day. Then years later, I did contact that friend and brought up the story, and I said, remember when we surprised that? And he did confirm that he now also knows that it was not a bear, and he said Bigfoot. Another experience I had while screwing around, I'd go out and just shoot at helpless squirrels and birds with my 30-30 from time to time, for which I am forever shamed. However, I can tell you the last time I did this, I was near town but far enough to hear the harbor activity, down the beach from town, but out of sight one winter day. And as I crept along just in the woods, on a path parallel to the beach like Elmer Fudd searching for Bugs Bunny, when all of a sudden I heard a crunching sound from behind me. Each time I stopped, it stopped. When I continued, it also continued. I began to feel stalked. I was sure a bear was stalking me. But also I knew that if a bear is stalking you, you won't hear them. A million years of evolution has them perfectly capable of stalking silently. So that thought made me conclude that whatever it was wanted me to know it was stalking me. And this realization had my hairs standing up like I never had experienced before this day. I did feel a primal fear rush through me. I walked down the beach, and that did little to alleviate the fear, so I spoke quietly to this thing that was ominously communicating to me. I said I was sorry for needlessly killing the critters and that I would stop. I made my way back to the harbor, which I lived, and the fear was with me most of the 10 minutes walk back. And upon reflection of these experiences, I'm fortunate to have these relatively mild experiences. When I was 30-something, I met a 95-year-old gentleman named Bill Fawcett, who shared with me that he grew up in Tanaki. I asked him stories about his life, and he shared many interesting stories, including that he was a prisoner of war camp guard for the Italian-German POW camp up in Excursion Inlet. Bill was a salt of the earth kind of guy, and he taught Tlingit language at the university locally. He asked me why someone he loaned some money never returned that loan. LOL, I didn't want to tell him they probably smoked that $50. So Bill was one of the few people left who cannot even lie, just not capable. It's an honor to meet those people, but also humbling. They will say whatever is on their minds, regardless of how you feel. He did have an encounter to share, and he said, one day when he was collecting firewood in Tanaki at 15 years old, while utilizing a rowboat down the shoreline, he needed to take a bathroom break and came ashore. He was miles away from home, alone, and working his way back to town with firewood. He was dragging his boat up the beach enough to keep it from floating away, when a, quote, something began to shake the spruce trees and scream like a banshee, end quote, he said. I also asked for more details, and he just kept repeating that he could not see it. That it screamed like a banshee, and it shook the branches on a tree while it screamed. That it must not have wanted him, Bill, to go up to the beach. I said to Bill, could that have been one of those Bigfoots? To which he replied, I don't know. In 80 years, it never occurred to Bill that this might be one of them Bigfoot that people talk about, LOL. Excuse me. And a closing thought. Steve, has it ever occurred to you that once the sawbay is recognized officially, that the Fish and Game or federal parks asshats will just use them as another excuse to restrict access to parks and hunting areas and catch limits, etc., etc.? Anyhow, many blessings. Many blessings. Sorry, I listen to your voice often. I'm so glad I came across your channel and Club No Return. Okay, man. No, I don't think there's a threat of that, not at this stage of the game, because of all the knowledge we have on these people. We know without a doubt that they are not an animal, and they cannot be proven as being an animal that needs protection or food or a patch of timber set aside for it. And furthermore, I do believe there's no way they're going to publicly acknowledge that, as long as they don't have to. Because once they do, it blows all the control away that they have over us right now. Blows it all away. That's why. So no, I don't think there's any threat at all to the outdoors or fish and wildlife. This has nothing to do with fish and wildlife. Nothing. But I appreciate that email, man. Big time. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, and keep us in the loop if you come across any knowledge you just may come across, and feel we can all benefit from having you share with us. All right, man? Now, all right, mark this next one as red. And this is titled Cryptid Encounter. Good morning. I live in a small rural community in the North Caribou, surrounded by mountains covered in thick forest. The town was founded by mining, 8 kilometers south of Barkerville Historic Town. There's a deep lake called the Jack of Clubs that greets visitors and locals on their way into town. Highway 26 winds beside the west side of the lake. There are several rest stops for people to enjoy the lake. One of those pullouts has a boat launch, picnic tables, and washrooms. There's also a grassy area at the water's edge where people often fish from. At the end of the lake, closest to the town, there is or was a beach area. The visitor center, washrooms, and a seasonal taco stand. From this end of the lake, the Willow River starts and winds through the town, then makes its way to the Fraser River. On the opposite side of the Willow River is historic mine waste. Back in the 1930s, people thought it was a good idea to fill the shallows of the lake in with mine tailings, then build houses on top. There's also a mill nestled into the base of Cow Mountain that spewed arsenic, mercury, and other chemicals used to separate gold from its host rock right into the lake. And this is why I said it was a beach. 2 years ago, the government decided that the beach is not safe due to the presence of historic mine waste. Meanwhile, the locals and occasional tourists were swimming there happily. The dock has been removed, and there are signs alerting locals and visitors of the potential risk. I'm an avid paddleboarder and would launch from the beach area and paddle around the lake. And at the time of my encounter, my daughter was 6 years old and would sit at the front of my SUP. She loved looking into the water for fish and just admiring the aquatic environment when it was visible. And on this day, we were at the end of the lake, furthest from the town, so the mine tailings were behind us. And this end of the lake is very deep, so the water looks almost black. And my daughter excitedly said, "I seen a fish." I said, "Oh, was it big?" And she replied, "Yes." I didn't think much of it. There are some feast-sized fish in this lake. We were paddling just past the first pullout along the highway, making our way back to the beach, when I saw what looked like a white log resting beneath the water. This stood out to me since all the deadheads were an orangey brown color or covered in green algae, so I pointed it out to my daughter. And as we slowly paddled by it, I couldn't help but be baffled, since the roots were at both ends. My mind could not register what we were actually looking at. The caudal fin was probably 3 to 4 feet wide, with brown vertebrae that separated the clear or lighter brown webbing between. The tail is predominantly white, 7-8 feet long and 2 feet wide. The body black. Its very thin arms were bent at the elbows, so its hands were just above its head. The hair was also black, The hair, also black, was spread out like roots. Its face was down looking at the bottom. And my daughter then said, "That's no log, Mom, it's a big fish." I didn't reply, and then said, I didn't reply. She then said, "It looked at me." We had just passed it when I felt a forceful thump under the board. Thankfully, I was sitting down so we didn't fall off. My daughter said, "Mom, I'm scared." I tried not to panic, and I told her, "It's okay." I thought a beaver had hit the board, and I was looking around frantically for it, then looked down beside the right of the board. The tail of this fish was there. Scales mostly white with some light turquoise. It was coiled under the board, so only 2 to 3 feet of it was visible to me. I froze. I couldn't make myself look to the left side. I just sat there feeling an emotion I can't explain. Eventually, I pulled myself together after what felt like minutes and began to paddle away. We made it to the second rest area with the boat launch, and we pulled ashore. My daughter seemed unfazed but would not go swimming. She played in the shallows while I sat there on shore staring at where the encounter happened, trying to process it. Reluctantly, we got back on the board and paddled back to the beach where my truck was parked. It didn't follow us, or if it did, we didn't see it. We talked about our experience that night, and she told me that it had white eyes like pearls. I think it was looking up at her from the nose of the board. I cried. Later that summer, on a very hot day, my daughter asked me to take her swimming at the beach. The water is shallow, then gradually gets deeper, and then drops off. She was splashing around about 4 feet from shore. The water was at her waist. I was standing at the shore watching when a black head with white eyes popped out of the water where it drops off. Its nose and mouth were still in the water. I felt it staring at me. I didn't yell at my daughter to get out in fear that she would defy me and go deeper. I just stood there, and that unexplainable emotion filled me. It submerged. There were bubbles approaching where my daughter was blissfully playing. She looked to her right. Her expression changed, and she got out of the water. It wasn't visible as it approached. It's like it became invisible. The water was clear enough I would have seen it swimming up, but all I could see were bubbles. I asked my daughter what she saw, and she said that it swam up with its mouth opened, and it scared her. It was about 4 feet from her since she was in that shallow water. I had a crystal. My daughter and I decided we wanted to give it to the lake since it might benefit from the crystal's cleansing properties. Her friend came with us. We went to the boat launch, since it's closest to where we had our initial encounter. I let my daughter's friend toss the crystal into the lake, and shortly after we heard a large splash from close to the shore. Then it swam with only the top of its head barely visible out into the middle of the lake. It circled around towards us, and we left in a hurry. Attached is the video I got of it doing this. Thank you for reading about our encounter. What a bizarre experience. Now, where is that description again? Because that was it wasn't quite painted for my visual in my brain. Now let's have a look. Let me find it. Sorry. Give me 1 second, you guys. Okay, here we go. When I saw what looked like a white log resting beneath the water. This stood out to me since all the dead heads were an orangey brown color or covered with green algae, so I pointed it out to my daughter. As we slowly paddled by it, I couldn't help but be baffled since the roots were at both ends. My mind could not register what we were actually looking at. The caudal fin was probably 3 to 4 feet wide with brown vertebrae that separated the clear or light brown webbing between. The tail is predominantly white, 7 to 8 feet long and 2 feet wide. 2 feet wide, so I'm guessing if it was wide, the tail was wide, so like a mammal's tail, horizontal, like a dolphin tail, like a whale tail. The body black, its very thin arms were bent at the elbows, so its hands were just above its head. The hair Also black, was spread out like roots. Its face was down looking at the bottom. Forceful thump under the boat. I'm scared, trying to panic. The tail of this fish was there. Scales mostly white with some light turquoise. It was coiled under the board. Only 2 to 3 feet of it was visible to me. I froze. I couldn't make myself look to the left side. This is absolutely bizarre. I've never heard anything like this in my life, and I wonder, convinced that that's a fairly public, easily accessible lake to the public. I wonder how many people may have seen this thing, because I'm having a tough time putting the description to a picture for my mind to see, but it sounds really frickin' weird. Let's see if I can find this attached video.
I think one got inside of my nose.
I think we might have to go soon because that's. I mean, we've been here for how long and it wasn't there before, so where did it come from?
It's a mermaid, Mom. That's actually swimming pretty fast. That's a mermaid. That's a beaver. Wait, no, it's a beaver. Oh yeah, it is. I see the tail. Closer. I see the head and the tail kind of. No, we don't have otters here. I'm talking about because beavers. Otters have like white heads. No, like, and that looks like it has a white head. I'm not sure. Beaver. Holy, I just heard that make a noise. Like, it sounded like kind of like a wolf growling, but also like barking at the same time.
Okay, well let's be quiet and see if we can hear it.
And it's like making splashy noises.
Is it stopping? Yeah?
I just whistled. Something just jumped there.
Yeah, I saw that. If we go up here, girls, maybe we'll get a better...
All right, so there was the video, and that's one hell of an odd description. What went down? I shouldn't say odd description of what went down, but an odd description of a creature in the lake. Now, I wonder if anybody else has seen something similar. That's a really weird description. I wonder if anyone else from around that zone in British Columbia has seen what was described in this email from the kind lady. To me, that looks like a beaver or muskrat going across the lake to me. But I wasn't there. I didn't see what you were seeing down under the water. Very creepy. Very creepy. Man, there's some weird shit being seen around the planet. Let's see if anybody else has seen that as well. Email us or comment below, please. All right, back I'm actually in my inbox, not my folders, and you wouldn't believe it. I just went into my inbox, and there was over 10,000 emails in this inbox, and I looked and it said there's 8 emails in my inbox. I'm like, huh? I must have clicked something yesterday, and they were all in the trash can, and I've just recovered them. Thank God. Holy shit. I need some help, don't I? Then, of course, I found some amazingly embarrassing... I shouldn't say amazingly embarrassing, just when people send garbage emails, like I got this weird email saying your your content's being monitored, and this is your last chance for whatever on YouTube for whatever getting in trouble, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, who's this? So you go to the headers, go to all the details and see where it's coming from. Such and such at suchandsuch.com. Go to the website, and it's some gaming website. I think. I don't know. But either way, it was just garbage, dog shit email. And it makes a person wonder sometimes. I mean, I get a lot of emails, you guys, a lot of dog shit email too, but it's kind of like, holy cow, really? You're that much of a failure in this lifetime that you are actually a professional spam email creator and spreader? Not that that's even a word, right? But I can't help but think, I just can't help it sometimes when you think about it. Think about who these people are that are attempting to do these email scams online, and you think, holy shit, have you ever failed at life? Like, what an example of being an absolute failure in life. Don't you think? It's come to this, really? Like, whoever does these scam, spam, dog shit emails, you got to wonder sometimes if they ever have a moment to themselves in the real world, sitting on a rock, looking at something beautiful in water, a pond, or a lake, or whatever, and they've got to be thinking to themselves, well, really, this is me. This is what I've my whole lifetime, and this is what I've added up to. Creating dog shit, scam content for the internet. Wow. Would that just make you want to jump if you found yourself in that position for real? Like, okay, you know what? It's probably time I exit, and hopefully I come back doing better next time. You know? All right, there's a little rant. Into the inbox we go. Not from my folders, my story. Hi, Steve. I'm a retired second ranger. My name is Ted. My story happened in New Jersey. Yes, Jersey. I lived there my whole life. Never even crossed my mind there was something like that in real life. I spent a lot of time in the woods in Washington State. I never seen a thing. In 2010, I came home from a deployment, my last. And when I came home, my friends that I grew up with seemed to think it would be a great idea to go rabbit hunting like old times. Something that I really wasn't into. After seeing some things, it changes the way I look at life now. But I went. We were hunting without dogs, basically just walking in the woods about 200 yards apart in an area about a mile by a mile. We walk, and if you kick up a rabbit and you have a shot, you take it. If not, either way it runs. Someone else could get a shot. Missing a bit of punctuation. As I was walking, I saw something out of the corner of my eye. I see condensation. It's something you look for in the morning in Afghanistan. It's something you look for in the morning in Afghanistan. It's cold in the morning. Many Taliban have had a sniper wake-up call that way. Well, I seen it, and it stopped me dead in my tracks. I didn't smell anything, and I was surprised because my senses were still on high alert in combat. Things smelled different. It's hard to understand, but anyway, I seen it. But I didn't look at it because I knew I was here. Typos. Sorry, you guys. Typos, all right? Surprised? I didn't smell anything, and I was surprised because my senses were still on high alert in combat. Things smelled different. It's hard to understand, but anyway, I seen it, but I didn't look at it because it knew I was here. It stopped breathing that way and was now diverting the air coming out of its mouth a different way so I couldn't see it. As soon as it did it, I knew this thing was. As soon as it did, I knew this thing was tactical. It scared me to death. There was a tree between me and it, and I already had a plan to track this thing with my weapon as soon as it moved. It was on the right side, and if it went forward, I had it. And if it went backwards, I could track it. But then what happened changed the whole thing. I heard a big crash like a car crash. I know you say a car crash, but that's exactly what it sounded like. All of a sudden, I heard the noise and the thing on my right took off at the same time. But it didn't go to the front or the back. It moved in a way that I could not turn anywhere where I could get a shot at whatever took off. It knew I couldn't track with the weapon. That's tactical. That's tactical what it did. When I seen it breathing, it stopped. Animals don't do that. It changed me in ways that I can't begin to explain. I don't want no attention. I got enough hugs as a child. I'm happy where I'm at. I made it through some hairy situations, and that was one of them too. I don't let my kids or my grandkids go in the woods. Thanks, Steve. I think they're very smart. Oh, yeah. There you go. That's kind of creepy. Tactical is right. They're the masters of tactical, without a doubt. Maybe keep the kids and the grandkids educated from all the people here. Would be good. Creepy. What do we got here? Shall I keep going? My neighbor just fired up his excavator. Damn it. But anyway, side note, before I forget to mention. So yesterday, Sarah and I went back out fishing again, casting off the pier late afternoon, and a very kind native man came down and sat with us on the bench. Very comical, friendly guy. Started talking to us. He talked to us for probably an hour or something, hung out watching us fish. And then after he'd been talking for a while, then I realized he was absolutely sane between the ears. Excuse me, I looked at him and said, so, you seen Sasquatch yet? As I'm reeling my rod. I just look serious. And he looks at me and he goes, yeah, a couple times. I go, yeah, me too. Then he just kept on fishing. And then I said to him, I go, whereabouts did you see them? Or him or her or whatever. And he goes, oh, right up there. Mount Aerosmith. If I had $5 for every person that either found tracks or seen these beings around out Mount Aerosmith, I'd be a millionaire. It's nonstop around there. And he also said he was hunting near Kamloops, and him and another guy saw one there. There you go. Thought I'd throw that in. I heard that yesterday. Now I got an excavator fired up right outside my window. My neighbor is redoing this property over here. I can't listen to that, you guys. I'm going to have to cut this short. All right? I'm not going to listen to it and keep reading. I'm too tired. But I will be back. We'll be back. Please throw down some comments and anything I might have discussed today and yesterday, and I'll read them up, all right? And I think Sarah's got a long list of people to come on here and speak with me openly about this topic and more, and we're going to get that going pretty quick, too. Just not quite sure yet. When yet, because obviously plans got absolutely turned upside down. It's driving me bonkers. I'm in limbo. What I'm supposed to be doing next, when we're supposed to be getting the house sitter lined up to come over here on the ferry to take care of the place again, and everything. So it's up in the air, and I guess I'll hopefully know tomorrow what's up. And then we'll be able to start lining people up to come on here with me with confidence that it's going to work out all right. And we're going to do it from the woods up north, too, just so you know. We're going to have people on here talking to me from while I am up in the middle of nowhere. That should be kind of cool. I don't even know if you guys can hear that, but it sounds like it's right beside me. Anyway, share my story at howtohunt.com and throw down some comments and knowledge in the comment section below as well, and I will read later on as well, okay, guys? As well. Sleep deprived. Okay, I'll see you later on.